getting to know a little bit about you, I think what we would want to hear now is for you to tell me a little bit about your journey and substance use. What was that like, and what is it like now? But let's start from the back and bring it
Okay.
forward.
Okay. Yeah. So I think I perhaps started with smoking cannabis. You know, in Jamaica, cannabis or marijuana or
Mm-hmm.
ganja, as they call it,
Mm-hmm.
that is something very normal for young teenagers to do. But then I think things kind of took a turn when I came to
You
Canada,
can. Mm,
and I was isolated. I was alone. I had no support systems here, no family. Um, Friends that I had only met recently over the internet
mm-hmm.
were helping me to go through the immigration process.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty quickly, I was on my own. Within a month, I was living on my own. Rented a small place that was really dingy, but I was happy to have a space for
It was
myself, a
yours.
room that was for me.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think during that time, the winter came on. I'd never experienced a winter quite like this. I'd been in the snow before, but it's never been as dark as it is here in Toronto. The winters here are pretty lacking in sunshine
Yes.
compared to other places. So, for the first time, I was experiencing seasonal depression.
Mm,
For the first time, I realized just how much I depended on sunshine to maintain my mood and my mental health.
health. Yes.
So, during that period, I was very, very lonely
Mm-hmm.
and started going on social media, going on social networks, trying to connect with people. And that led me to meet somebody who
Mm-hmm.
during our socializing, they introduced me to other substances that I wasn't
Yes.
familiar with. And so that's how that leg of my journey started here in Toronto.
What was support like during that phase when you started know harder substances?
Well, support was pretty much absent. There was
Mm.
no support. I wasn't aware of some of the services that I
Mm.
I now provide
Mm-hmm.
um, through my work. Wasn't aware, like I said, I was really new to Canada, new to Toronto, very unfamiliar with the landscape.
Yes.
And so there was no support, no family support, no social networks, and I was alone.
You were
And I
alone.
think that kind of caused the substance use to spiral out of control.
So at what point you felt like you needed help?
I think when I realized that it was beginning to interfere with work, um, I started missing days at work.
Mm.
I was late quite
Mm-hmm.
often.
Mm-hmm.
I think the very first time I realized I needed help was when I was using, and even though I knew I had work
Mm-hmm.
that morning, I still went ahead and missed work, and
Mm-hmm.
continued using for 2 more days.
Mm.
Yes. At the end of that, what we call binge, I realized that this was not functional at all. This was very dysfunctional for me. And I needed feedback and guidance.
Yes.
I reached out to the place I didn't think I would, my family. In fact, my sister.
Yeah.
I reached out to my sister, and she was surprisingly supportive. I think she's generally conservative in her outlook, as most Jamaicans are, Christian as
Mm-hmm.
well. So it was out of pure desperation that I
Mm-hmm.
did that. But I'm happy I did because she provided some of the best support I've ever had. And I think that speaking to her, sharing what I was going through with her, that was the beginning of like me, dealing with the situation and really trying to achieve a positive outcome.
I am very happy to hear about the support. And now I'm thinking, what would have then inspired you to start this new journey in terms of the work that you're doing in harm reduction?
I won't say that I planned it this way.
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of just, happened this way for whatever reason. I started to do a certificate in professional writing and communications
Okay.
at a college here, and my internship led me to the organization that I'm working with now, Black Cap.
Okay. Okay.
And based on that internship, I was offered a job, part time at first, and then I guess from that, my performance there, they gave me a promotion within a few months. But at that time, I was still struggling with substance use.
Mm-hmm.
But that time I was still struggling with substance use. Um, and so I had a period of relative productivity
Yes.
and professional success, and then that was followed by a period where I had a relapse.
Mm-hmm.
And what that looked like again was, being late for work, missing days,
Mm-hmm.
not completing assignments on time, stuff like that. And to be fair to Black Cat, they tried various ways of accommodating me,
To
to
support.
support me and to
Nice.
accommodate me. But I think I was just at a stage where I needed time to focus on addressing the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so just before the start of the the pandemic, when everything
Yes.
was like on lockdown, they told me that look, we've tried several things with you, but we feel like you need to take some time and go and take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very hurt at first, but I feel like that was for the best. I took
Yes.
their advice and I applied to get into one of the free government rehab programs,
Mm-hmm.
and I was fortunate enough to get in 3 months later.
Yeah.
You have to wait 3 months these days,
Wow.
but I got in 3 months later, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
You've ever made.
Incidentally, I because I had to wait 4 months
Yes.
in total between when I left my job and that. During that time, the director from Black Cat would reach out to me to check to see how I was doing. And I remember a position came up, and he reached out and said, I think this would be a good fit for you. If you feel like you're ready and you want to do this, apply. So I applied. I applied before I went into rehab. So the whole process started right before rehab, and so I ended up doing my interview from rehab.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, they accommodated me that much. I did
Wow.
my interview from rehab, and I was successful.
Mm-hmm.
And so coming out of rehab, I went straight into work.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that was good for me. That's not going to be good for everybody, but I
Yeah.
felt like that was good for me.
For
I feel
you.
like coming right out of rehab and going right into work was one of the best things I decided to do. My own approach has been to just be very open about
Yes.
my story.
Yes.
And I would encourage those who are
Yes.
where it is safe to do so. It's not always safe, but where it is safe to do so, I would encourage other ACB substance users, whether you currently use, you use in the past, you want to continue using, you want to stop using, but tell your story. Tell your friends. There's so many persons who walk around thinking, I don't know anybody who does substances.
Mm-hmm.
When the truth is, they probably do, but they're using in secrecy and shame. And when
Yes.
you use in secrecy and shame,
That is
that
where.
is when the risk for things like overdose or
Yes.
harms, other kinds of harms,
Yes.
can occur,
Yes.
more likely to occur.
Yes.
So that's been my strategy, being very open. In many instances, I've gotten comments like person saying, "Well, you don't look like somebody who would do that."
And that's the stigma. You
That's the
don't
stigma
look.
right there. But so my advocacy, the work that I do, is the way that I live my life.
Yes. On this International Overdose Awareness Day, what's your message to those who are using, to families who have members who are using, friends who are supporting their friends who are using? What is your message to our community?
Well, the message this year really is around centering around those who go unseen.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's a very broad um, grouping. It could be the service providers who go unseen. It could be the family members who support. It could be the friends, as well as it could be substance users themselves who are struggling with substance use or who feel isolated from the rest of society. So I think we should think broadly in those terms, and it's important to recognize the people who go unseen because, in many instances, like my sister, those are the persons who are really making a difference in the lives of substance users.
Mhm. Wow, Orville, what a conversation.
Indeed.
Thank you so much for taking the time to share this with us. Your story is a brave one, it's one of support, it shows leadership, and we appreciate it. Thank you for all that you're doing with for our community.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity to share my story.
We're breaking barriers.
Absolutely.
Let's continue the conversation.
Certainly.